Yeah, because her cards arrived. Whoop! Her cards arrived during this month. Susan Shepherd's cards, her Phoenix cards arrived, and the first card I wanted, and I believe I was talking to her because I believe I talked to anybody directly. That's what I'm used to with the murder victims. So otherwise, yeah, no, I wanted to talk to her. And so we did. She likes to give 7. She wants you always to pick out 7 cards from the Phoenix cards to get a sense of 7 past lives. I wanted her to. I didn't want to pick out the cards. I wanted her to make cards fly, because then I knew it wasn't just my own feelings, my own subconscious. And this is the first card, and it hit so well with me because it's Maya. And it's the Jaguar, Jaguar King, Jaguar energy. And Chel that shows up in that reading, which was, again, through Gemini, but then it came through, it was predicting what was coming through to me in September with this Jaguar energy. And Chel is Jaguar as well. Chel, I'll get the photo up of her in a moment again. I started, if I can show this by moving the camera enough, let's just screw things up a little bit. Up on my wall, there's a Maya. That's one of my main lessons, are Maya glyphs, because they're so good for training your hand. Once you get into drawing one, you have to stay with it, because well, I mean you don't have to, but in terms of it's better to, it's so circular, it's so continuous, the motion of it, that you really, it's like a ride that you get on and you kind of need to stay on it. And so it's just, so I keep that up, but it's also one of my, I have several of them that I use, and well, 4 to be precise. And so it is because the Maya also understood 0 better than anybody sooner. They built so much of their knowledge around 0. So that when she showed up here, and I was like, well, I hadn't actually come across her before, Chel. And so I thought, well, I'm going to look it up. And I didn't know when I was looking her up that she was Mayan. But I knew that there was something being said to me here, especially when white Tara shows up. But the fact that they took me right, they tied it all together for me with what I do with the drawing. Now I've been working on my own another photo collage, yes. See, there's my Tara, that's who looks after me. She was my girl. And of course Tara as an Irish thing. Not only goddess Tara from India, but well, and throughout Asia, but as a Celtic, the Tara is where kings and queens got crowned, whether or not you like kings or queens. But I come from the O'Neills, and they had everything to do with Tara through my McLaughlin side. And so when I named my girl, and she was with me for 12 years, and she had a very violent cancerous end, and she didn't want to leave me, and it took 3 shots, and they had to shoot straight into her heart, basically, to make her go, because she didn't want to leave me. So when Victoria says a person who left this world is the one who protects you, I mean, I know I work with a lot of people, but sometimes it's just about Tara, because who was Tara? Who is she? Is she just a cat? But you see, so the Maya calendar is calendars within calendars. They knew how to layer, right? Even with the nakshatras. What do I have? Can I get it to... No, I'm doing that thing again where I don't do what I could do. The Kala chakra. Kala, hello Kala, Kali. Wheel of time, right? And you've got wheels within wheels. Yes? And down here, Maya again, just explaining their own wheel system, the gears, yes? And I knew that when I was creating, when I saw the problems between tropical and sidereal, and I was just like, well, but this is easy enough to solve. You just put one wheel inside another wheel, right? So, has everything to do with Pink Spider astrology. And here's Chel down here. I really like the artist, psychic Thalia Cook, or Thalia or Thalia, but beautiful work. Always, all of her goddess work. I really like what she does. See there. Now, Chang'e in the moon goddess in China, she also has the rabbit. She was confined to the moon with only her pet rabbit for company. And here we have Chel with a rabbit. Yes, all this fertility, right? And that it helps us prove exactly what they knew they were doing when they created Ostara just 150 years ago or so. Just get in the fridge. And so if I just go back, I've got about 12,000 images in this phone again, right? So here she is. So this is Jaguar energy again coming at me. So something to do with that in Aquarius, yes? We're getting the answers is what we're doing. Here's Ostara and the article, Ostara and the Hare. Not ancient, but not as modern. And then I went to it, of course. Not as modern as some skeptics think. Stephen Winnick. So he's excellent work there. blogs.loc.gov if you want to look that up. And I've got the whole, I took note of it all with some excellent commentary and answers. And mind control through the white rabbit. If you look up, if you know anything about how they use white rabbits in mind control. So Alice in Wonderland, yes, it's not an accident. She was following a white rabbit. They actually use that in trauma-based conditioning. Again, thanks to the years I've spent learning from the victims, namely Fiona Barnett and David Schroeder. So in the comments, somebody pointed out how to get a negative proof, lack of evidence to support either Ostara or the bird hair connection, right? And so then by asking that question, he actually takes a, explains why he thinks the lack of proof proves that there isn't actually a historic Ostara. Again, that has everything to do with, I mean, if you look at the symbolism, yes, and how similar it is, and we look at the return of the black goddess that isn't a black goddess. I'm just getting back to that image, right? So there's something to do. We're gonna Statue of Liberty, and look, we've got the lilies there. This is all just, we know what this is. Okay, so bear with me, because somebody mentioned the Madonna of the Rabbit in the comments, so I went and looked that up. Went to the Louvre, and Titian painted Madonna and the Rabbit, and that going down that article led me to an anonymous of Virgin and Child with rabbits, and so they just carry it forward. And then of course white rabbits, women assistant sculptors at the Chicago World Fair, which takes us to Oz. That's, Wizard of Oz, because that's where Frank Baum was when he was, just before he wrote it. He was living in Chicago and he was there at the fair, and that's why it's the Emerald City, apart from the Emerald Tablet, of course, because Frank Baum is Blavatsky, Thelema. So, Mason, Although I love him. Thank you, Frank. Been so helpful. But they made so many buildings white for the World Fair, Chicago World Fair, that people wore green glasses just to be able to look at them. So now I know about the white rabbits, and I've looked them up. Okay, just keep going down these rabbit holes, and this is while I'm trying to solve and finish beginning of drawing, but it all matters. It's all together. And Aquarius, right? So if we go back to Vesta showing up in the reading as well, and she looks after the hearth and fires, well, that takes us to Brigid, and Brigid's been showing up a lot for me. So there's also a connection for me through these houses to Brigid or Brit. If you go to druidry.org, whoever writes that gives the pronunciation as Brit. So I'll say Brit. And she looks after the hearth. Not only does she look after the hearth, there's a whole sisterhood built around her that look after an eternal flame. I want to say Kildare. I could be wrong. But I've been here to this website from Morgan before, and I'm back for Brit, and we're looking at, then I found a good Terry Windling.com, a good article that admits that Ostara is debatable, but and then we don't need to look at that. I also ended up down a few other places, but that is what it is. So let's wrap this up. So we have Jaguar energy, we have Maya energy, understanding, but I've been dealing with so many cultures because of even finding the Indian mathematician who first explained zero properly, right? About between 500 and 600 AD. Greeks, of course, couldn't accept zero. They killed people who talked about it. But so very much in keeping with the scientific, the mathematical, the technological aspects of Aquarius energy. And when I get into the houses, combining the houses, then I've got even something better about that. I still have to finish Gemini, but I do have the notes here because this is where Chel showed up, was in Gemini's house. And I have Oya and Oshun here. I have the Blue Rose Task Force from Twin Peaks. This was all my Twin Peaks time, was during Gemini. And so I would say, like, it's like the water houses are the calm before the air houses storm. That's what I feel. And because Libra's where they took me to fairyland, right? And that's where they really plugged me into my Celtic roots that I had been very nervous about, scared. I had been avoiding, right? And I've gone and I've listed all the predictions I need to keep track of and get the photos from and add to Libra House. And I've got to still finish going through Gemini. But this is some of what was going on for me in Libra energy, all that green energy, all the green man energy. And so together, where are we going with Aquarius house? It's what you do. It really is doing what you like to do, but pulling it together with what you have to do. And it's all to do, if it's all to do with getting this Urania energy correct, and it has everything to do with getting your astrology correct and the stars. It's very much about, yeah, exactly who you are in your chart, all your uniqueness. But I find very much I'm helping myself in this. But also, yes, something very much, but Gemini carries, see, Gemini carries, there is something about the twin energy. Well, you've got twin energy, but is it twin self? right? Or literally twins. And I'd say no, absolutely literally twins when we look at what's been done to the Yoruba. And they keep the Yoruba are such a strong force, that it has to be extremely spiritually significant, especially with their twin birth rate, unique in the world. But in terms of determining God in Aquarius house, go back, I'm pretty sure God's Japanese, and a lot of Japanese stuff came through for me in Aquarius house. Whether or not I'm predicting, no, I'm not. The one particular scientist, Gallico, showed up for me at the finish line, so I want to say Japan is is helping me very much, especially through my son, who brought me to all things Japanese. But the air signs have so much to do with the search for God, the knowledge of God. Absolutely. So, is there anything else? And then in terms of Jesus, in terms of anybody else's figures, in terms of like subtracting all the Hermetic, Freemasonic, Rosicrucian. I found out the Rosicrucians of course they started the first multinational corporation. The Rose Cross. Look into the Rose Cross. We have to subtract and figure out, did a Masonic God put us here and how many games did he set up? Like, how big what is the chessboard? We've got to figure out the chessboard, the magic square. Chessboard is a magic square. Okay? We've got to go into the math, go into the numerology. Chessboard is based on magic squares, and the I Ching. They took so much from China. They took so much from the I Ching. There is a Japanese scientist, artist, who came up with, I'll have to get into it another time. The one symbol that we look at for the yin yang, coming from Tao, it's just one of hundreds, or at least several dozen. It's the simplest one, but the guy actually designed dozens, and it's the models of the universe, theoretical models of the universe. I found that in this house. We're getting there. So much to do with the Black Goddess, though. Okay, things that I'm forgetting, though, about who's helping me in this. This Libra took me deep right into the green energy, into the green man energy, and the green lady energy, which tied me in, took me into understanding who the green lady is. She's a couple of things, and there's a Gallic name for her as well. But, and there are multiple, there's sort of overlapping between fairy world and ghosts, yes? But she looks after homes. She stays, several green ladies guard homes and guard whoever the family, more so the home than the people, like the people that are in it, they guard. Yes, what I mean to say is they're attached to the location more than they're attached to moving with a family, wherever the family goes, right? So they guard the location. So me as a home cleaner, when I got brought into home cleaning as my own business, as a necessary step in my life, and that's how I came into contact through all the homes that I cleaned to so many more murder victims coming to me through those homes. I don't know if I'm like a living embodiment of a green lady, or green ladies are connected to, there's something very multidimensional about that. So something to do with, then that ties us to goddess as caretaker of hearth and home, yes? Which is an interesting, sorry about the truck outside, that's timing. okay, so Brit, Bridget, Brigid, Brit, and then Danu, the mother goddess that there's very little known about. Exactly who, well, the Celts weren't one people, and what we know of them is from the Greeks and the Romans, that's written, because their own written history is said that they don't have a written history, but of course they do, and it was, you know, chucked, destroyed. Master drawers, yes, but everybody has strong drawing, you know, every cultural group has a strong drawing history. So, but I needed to remember to go back into that, and there are a couple other things that I found, going back over notes in the in-between. Today is the day after the day I started recording this. And I was like, there's more, isn't there? There's more. Just a couple of other things though, because it was bugging me. The air houses have been, Aquarius particularly is bugging me, haunting me to dig deeper. And so then I found the Urania stuff. But then I was like, but wait a minute, I didn't show how I got the Urania information. What led me to Urania? Because I have even forgotten, I didn't pick up on her. I've come across her before and it didn't stick. I came across her when I was looking up, in this green energy. There is, do I have her on this particular page? I've got so many pages attached to this that I still haven't printed up. No, the goddess of memory, the muse of memory, Nemothene, starts with an M. And she's attached to the Delphi, or she's a Delphi oracle. She's attached to Apollo. And so therefore we know that she's actually black and she's a Sibyl. Wearing a green dress, yes, green for memory, green for heart. So because during that time I came across Urania. So during this time I came across Urania, but I don't know why it didn't click. I just wasn't thinking in terms of Uranus and Urania, perhaps. But she shows up again. It was bugging me about Hermes. It was, I ended up going to, because of Ganymedes, because of Aquarius, this whole idea of Aquila, the eagle swooping down and getting him, and Zeus, right, you know, and so this is the, it's heavily but theoi.com, Theoi Project, Greek mythology. I went here to their Ganymede because they're so well researched and sources cited, and that's and this is another page. This is just down from that section, okay, and here's, right here he is with Aquila, Zeus. It turns out, okay, so Hermes is Mercury, right? It turns out Zeus sent Hermes to Ganymedes' dad with the offer of the horses, right? Because Hermes is the messenger of the gods. So you have this sort of twin energy between Hermes, Mercury, and Ganymedes, because Hermes gets sent and Ganymedes gets brought back, right? Like they're do we want to say rent boys for Zeus? But there's something of a, and I know I'm talking about one particular world culture that doesn't speak for all other world cultures. However, if we get into all the esoteric symbolisms, everything, you know, and whoever created this universe, if the creator of this universe is hung up on what I think he's hung up on, and he's not the good God, and my good God's trying to help me figure things out, right? Then it wouldn't be, it's not, just like Adam and Eve aren't fair, but there are clues to be found through them to the truth of who's set up the chessboard, right? That's what I'm saying. So, where did it the rest of it go? It's back a ways. But it was in that, on that page that I found Urania. And then also Hermes. The fact that Hermes was the one who delivered the message to Ganymede's father. And other things were bothering. I'm just trying to... So yeah, finding Urania and Hermes. I needed to go clear some disk space on the camera card. And I'll wrap this up, but it's important. I need to keep track of this here and now. I have it in photos, but I need to keep video track of it as well, for the sake of when I do future version, like the following years of this book, then I have references. I go back and listen to everything, watch everything. But also, it's just important. Yeah, it's the evidence of everything. It is the research process of what I intended this book to be. So when I found Hermes as the messenger, and I mean, I know that Hermes is Mercury, but I wanted to do, I like putting in the search terms just to see what it gets me. And sure enough, the first result, the Greek god Hermes, yes, Roman Mercury, was god of translators, interpreters, yes, amongst other things, tricksters and all that, the thievery, yes, the commerce. And among his personal favorite commercial activities was the corn trade. Now that's something I hadn't paid attention to yet. And then, so boom, that got me thinking. Now I end up with Monsanto and Demeter. Very interesting article on neoscosmos.com. But that's not how I got there. I did a search. I'll focus this while I do that. Get the... because the corn, Monsanto has everything to do with getting into the corn trade. Where I got that, I've been down a couple of rabbit holes since then. I looked up Hermes and Monsanto because of corn, yes. And there, of course, is governance advisor Hermes, EOS. Back's review of German takeover when Bayer took over Monsanto, yes. That's how I ended up on the Monsanto and Demeter article. Very interesting article about how Demeter, as the energy, the female energy of the earth, has to deal with companies like Monsanto. I'm just going to go back to those results for a second because it's going to keep me in my train of thought. This is why photo evidence in your phone, even on your computer, because it'll timestamp it, right? So helpful. And here's a painting of, like, a really just, I haven't found the credit for it yet, on Unlucky, our Under Lucky Stars. They call that lucky. Underluckystars.com, the myth behind, I think, Ganymede. There he is. It's made to look nice, and it's not nice. But see how they're doing the dark light thing there? Dark is bad, light is good. But they're saying dark is bad. They're saying it's bad that Aquila came down and took Ganymedes. And why did he take him? Yeah, non-consensual. Right? And it was on this site also that I found out for the first time that Zeus compensated the father's loss by sending Hermes the messenger with some really nice horses. So then I went and tried to get that confirmed by other sources, yes. Yeah, the myth behind Aquarius, underluckystars.com. Okay. Another good source. Found several others. But it was, so it's back in theoi.com that I find Urania mentioned. So then that's when I, yeah, on this particular part of the article. There she is. As Hymenaeus's mother, Hymenaeus was the playfellow of Hermes, Mercury, and we'll say playfellow. And something clever made by his haughty mother. They say she's haughty, but don't know. Maybe she is. Haven't found that out yet. But so there is a lot. There's a lot of it can be hard to find too much information about other people, but there's a lot about Ganymede, which would be Aquarius, but not as Urania, right? So if we have Urania as the star representing, see what they're doing to us. So the other thing that I wanted to mention that now I've completely forgotten about. No. Am I happy with that? Let me pause and think. No, just back to this for a moment. Demeter ruling over grain and harvest, of course. So we're heading into Demeter's season in Virgo's house. And again, when her Persephone is taken by Hades, Pluto, yes, to the underworld as his wife, right? She's wailing. There's refuses to look after all the, I'll just read it. And I didn't get it just from this. I've studied her enough for Virgo's house. But harvest failed, famine set in, and Zeus has to intervene as the people of Greece are starving. So he sends Hermes again to convince the Dark Lord Hades, and we're talking Pluto here, so Scorpius energy, to let Persephone return to her mother. So there we go with Hermes being the the salesman. Can you do this? And so I need to credit the person. Joanne Locke. Thank you, Joanne Locke. Very excellent article, worth reading. In terms of mixing what's going on with what is... So I looked up Hermes, EOS, Back's Review of German Takeover Rules. Yes. Company headquarters for Monsanto in Switzerland, so we know what that means. Like I haven't looked up Monsanto before. Of course I have, but yeah. U.S. Agrochemicals Company, Monsanto by Bayer. So the fact that Hermes is important enough to name companies like this, I found another Hermes as well in Germany, a packaging company, huge company, and that'll have everything to do with intelligence and tracking and stuff. So I mean, it's commercial, it's product, but so I have had clients that had to deal with Monsanto, that had Monsanto knocking on their door wanting their farms, and they said no. And I live just north of North Dakota in Manitoba. So looking at exactly how viable Monsanto became, as like what the financial interests are in it, was all strong. So back in 2015 the projections were strong, and of course that's why, so Bayer. So it's all active. It's all very active energy, is what I'm saying, right? Especially with and the caduceus being the two snakes around the pole being commercial versus the one snake around the pole being medical, and how many medical companies use the two snakes, telling us straight to our faces that it's commercial and not anything to do with looking after our health.